Welcome back to Fixing My Faith. Today we're going to talk about a subject that normally only Jehovah's Witnesses talk about, and that's end of times. Is end of times really coming? Is it any day? Is it tomorrow? Well, I was doing some digging, and that's what we do. We do a lot of digging when we're researching our faith and we're trying to fix our faith. So the research I've done has brought me to the Apophis. It's a meteorite that's approaching the Earth, and so I have a lot of videos. Again, we did one of these all-nighters, and we researched this. So I kind of gleaned out, I think, the important stuff. I'm going to put some links in this video, and some stuff that can make sense to us, especially in our community, because normally only Jehovah's Witnesses predict the end times. So here's this is from Skywatch. These guys have 30,000 subscribers. So he's reporting on this as well. And let's see what this guy says.
Hidden deep within ancient scriptures, it is written that in the beginning, the ultimate agent of chaos was already restrained by the Creator. As creation flourished, this force of destruction remained subdued, waiting for his time of freedom. Humanity kept record of this malevolent spirit in order to warn future generations. These ancient prophecies foretell a messenger will precede the release of the great evil, known to the Hebrews as Leviathan, but to the Egyptians as Apophis.
Welcome back to Skywatch TV. Today we continue our special investigative series on the exciting, groundbreaking new documentary film by Josh Peck called Ragnarok, Humanity's Last Stand. Today we're going to discuss the ancient prophecies of the enigmatic group known as the Essenes, who accurately predicted the year of the death of our Lord Jesus, and how their prophetic calendar ties into the arrival of Apophis. But before we do that, watch this.
Bible prophecy, in my experience, is to be taken literally, and metaphor is God's way of allowing a human to interact with those prophecies. Metaphor is not just a bold-faced statement of what God is going to do. It's God's way of saying, I want you to read my word, and I want you to learn how I think, and I want you to apply that to the metaphors that you're reading in a given prophecy. And what you end up with is a much broader prophetic interpretation than would be the case if God just said, I'm going to do this.
What's interesting is if Apophis were to ever strike the Earth, we have three possible dates to consider. According to NASA, Apophis is scheduled to fly by the Earth in April of 2029, March of 2036, and April of 2068, with the closest approach occurring in 2029. Now, the amazing thing about all these dates is they fit within an ancient prophetic calendar detailing the final 50 years of our current age.
My name is Ken Johnson. I've been a Christian for quite a while. Wanting to learn more about doctrine, I started studying the early church fathers, and they led me to studying the Dead Sea Scrolls. Putting the two together really completes the picture in a lot of things. So the past couple of years, I've been studying the Dead Sea Scrolls intensely, have produced a few books on their doctrines, which is the main thing I was focusing on. And I think it's really important for us today.
Starting a little before the 1st century AD, there existed a mysterious group of Jewish scribes and priests that lived in a place called Qumran. It's an area separated from the rest of the Jewish community in Israel. They referred to themselves as the children of light, and they claimed that they were the only ones using the correct solar calendar system mandated by God. The other religious leaders in Israel at that time, the Pharisees and Sadducees, they were called the children of darkness due to their use of a pagan lunar calendar system and their rejection of things important to God, such as prophecy inspired by the Holy Spirit and what they called the Testaments of the Patriarchs, which they claimed contained the first writings of mankind.
Okay, so it's quite interesting. I could get into this again, but that's just a little sample of what this video is about, and I think it's worth watching. It's done historically, but it's showing us as people that are interested in the Bible. We were down the rabbit hole for a lot of years as Jehovah's Witnesses, and when we come out, we want to take a really good look at things. We want to find out, is the Bible really what it's supposed to be? And due to my findings and even my readings coming out, I'm finding a lot of discrepancies. In fact, I'm finding in the Old Testament that they approved abortions, and I'll have a separate show on that. But yet, we think abortions are wrong, but here in the Bible, they approved abortions, and I'll get into that. But there's all kinds of things in the Bible, like the Apostle Paul. And we talked about this before. It seemed like he was making, he was a Pharisee. Let's face it. He wasn't raised as a Christian. He was a Pharisee that had some kind of a vision and became a Christian. And then Constantine, that blows me away the most. Here's a guy that was losing battles, and then all of a sudden they paint red crosses on their shields, and they're winning battles. So we talked about that in previous videos. So there's a lot in the Bible that would make one believe that it could be manufactured and doctored by men. And think of what Russell did and Rutherford did just over 150 years, and what the governing body has changed, and they pulled things out and changed all kinds of words to suit their doctrine. Just over 150 years. So we find this as XJWs and we bring it to light. But now let's dig deeper. Let's go way back 3,500 years and find out what was going on. Were they doing the same thing? Were now here, this fella that's doing this article, he's saying that in Jerusalem, they were called the Dark Ones. And that's what Jesus thought. Jesus went in and turned over the money tables. He was not happy. The Essenes, they were not happy. There was a division between the two, but the Essenes were the righteous ones. They were the ones of light. And they segregated themselves. And that's what all these Dead Sea Scrolls are about. They were written by the Essenes. They found them. And guess what? They don't match up to the Bible that we're using. In fact, the scriptures that they're using talks about other gods, and that Yahweh or Jehovah is not the top God. So we're going to go a little further. I did a little more digging. I first of all wanted to know about the asteroid. Was that true? So I went to this article, and this is it's another article on the asteroids. It talks about it.
Whose collision could cause as much damage to Earth as done by the Chicxulub impactor, wiping out the entire population of non-avian dinosaurs some 66 million years ago. Initially designated 2004 MN4, this 340-meter wide rock at 170 million kilometers from Earth didn't seem very interesting.
So I want to speed through this. They already landed on this rock, and this was 2004. They recognized it. So they landed on it. They already have a sample, and they brought the units coming back to bring the sample back here. Now, what I wanted to bring out in this video is that they're already tailing this thing. Some other countries have sent up some rockets, and they're following this thing around. So let's see if it's in here.
Earth flyby. The mission aims to better view the asteroid's structural changes due to its close encounter with Earth. Then, missions with smaller spacecraft, such as Apophis Pathfinder, have also been put forward. This spacecraft will launch in 2025-2026 and will perform the first ever close flyby of Apophis by reaching the asteroid within approximately 1 year of its launch. Perhaps even some private astronauts might consider flying up to the asteroid to lay human eyes on it. Well, it's a long shot, but it's still possible. A detailed study of Apophis will pave the way to a better understanding of several dangerous asteroids lurking around us. Furthermore, these missions will...
So I thought it was a good article for anybody, so you don't get caught up in conspiracy theories and that the world's coming to an end, because you're going to find that out there, and people are making money on this. In fact, one of the videos, in fact, it might be one of these, they were selling their CDs, and they figured they figured this all out with the Essenes. And the Essenes use a Jubilee year every 50 years, and they apparently tracked when Jesus was going to die, and it happened. They tracked that 32 CE, and now, according to their calendar, they're saying that there's an age that we're living in. It's kind of a gentle age, and it comes to an end in 2,000 years. And 2,000 years is 2025, according to their calendar. So we're looking at two things. We're looking at old Dead Sea Scrolls, and now we're looking at NASA. NASA really doesn't care. They're just up there. Most of those guys don't really follow the Bible. They're just people of science. They watch asteroids coming at the Earth. And now it looks like the Earth as a people can actually do something about it. And that's quite interesting. So I went even further. Pope Francis, he calls for the Jubilee year of 2025 to be a time of conversion and act of charity. So he recognizes this, Pope Francis.
Fisichella, the president of the Pontifical Council for the Promotion of the New Evangelization, in light of the upcoming Jubilee.
So you could watch that on your own. I didn't watch it, but it's out there. There's lots of information on this. Now, here's another one I looked at, the Jehovah versus the Lord, the two brothers from Nibiru. And this is quite interesting. I think this is one that every Jehovah's Witness would want to watch.
The Bible explains that the bloodline story began with Adam and Eve, from whose third son, Seth, evolved a line which progressed through Methuselah and Noah, eventually to Abraham, who became the great patriarch of the Hebrew nation. It then relates that Abraham brought his family westward.
Now, I want to pause this because on this video, I don't want to play all these other people's movies. But this movie, I feel, was very well done. It was the best one I've seen so far, explaining these two brothers and how Jehovah came from Yahweh. It goes on to talk about that. And then it talks about this land of Canaan and how the Israelites first lived in that land for, I don't know how many years. He explains it in here, a long time. And that's where Jehovah, that's where they got this God Yahweh from, is from here. And there's actually a couple of gods. So this is a really interesting video. And again, it goes back to those Dead Sea Scrolls to explain all this. So the next one is, I wanted to even go further, and I wanted to, when we're in the Watchtower, all we had was the governing body. They're not even specialists at any of this stuff. So here on the online, we can go as far as we want. Here's a lady, Professor Christine Hayes, Yale University. Yale University is very highly recommended all over the world. And I watched this, and she talks about facts. She talks about archaeology and facts all the way through here. So if you want to watch this type of a video, I'll put the link in. It was an interesting video, and it talks about these Israelites. This El, which is the Lord Elohim, is the greatest God. And then underneath El is Yahweh and some other gods, a pantheon of gods all over the earth. So it's interesting when we look at archaeology. So now we're living in a time, and I said this before on my channel, the scriptures speak in Luke of we're living in a time where everything that is hidden will be revealed. And now with the internet, we can all educate ourselves quite quickly. And there's a lot of smart people online giving this information away. And thanks to them. So the last video that I want to show you is the long lost wisdom of Qumran at Essenes. And this is the naked archaeologist. He's from Canada. And I subscribe to him. He has a lot of followers. He'd be worth looking at. And again, this fella is going in and he wants to find out, were those transcripts from the Essenes, or were they from the other Jewish, the ones from Jerusalem? And so he did a whole study on that, and he did find that those writings most likely were the Essenes writings, and because there's differences. The Essenes wrote this way, and they were very meticulous. And guess what? They weren't false prophets. Everything they said came true, and that's brought out in some of the other videos. So this is an interesting one, the long lost wisdom of Qumran, Essenes. I'll put that link in. And then the last one was Greg Braden. Greg Braden, I follow some of his stuff. And he says sacred teachings lost in time, that is until the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. So he has a whole thing on this.
We have to remember holiness means to be luminous, radiant, and angelic. Others trace the Essenes' origins to Enoch, the incredible pre-flood sage, the first human translated to heaven. During his ascension, the archangel Michael anointed Enoch's body with an oil that dissolved his body into rainbow-colored light that matched that of the angels. Take note of the rainbow-angel connection. It will recur repeatedly and is a key to understanding the Essenes in their quest to become perfect light humans.
So that's all I'm going to put on there, but I'll put that video in there. I found this really fascinating, studying some of this stuff. So at the end of all of this, what do we figure? Do we figure the end's coming? Do we figure that this is it? No, I don't think so. Everyone's not looking at it this way. And when you look at NASA, the world's working together with these asteroids. And it's something they've been monitoring, and they always have been monitoring this. And there's always been asteroids coming close to the Earth, and we hear about this on an ongoing basis. So this one is the closest. And they're saying that this asteroid in 2029, if you look at the Earth, and then we have satellites above the Earth, right? This asteroid, let's say this is the Earth and this is a satellite. Well, this asteroid is coming in between the satellite and the Earth. That's how close it's coming to the Earth. And they don't want to blow it up because maybe all these fragments would cause a lot of damage. So I think they have a pretty good idea where it's going to go. They're monitoring it closely, and they're looking at even sending men out there. So this is something I'm going to follow. I find it quite fascinating. Now, for a lot of you out there that are thinking doomsday, and perhaps this is some old JW inculcation that we have in us, and we tend to think that way. And the Bible does, let's be honest, the Bible does talk that way. In fact, the Bible tells us to always be ready, always be ready, always be ready. And it's no wonder Jehovah's Witnesses get that. It's any day now, it's any day now. But that gets to be tiring, and it's a tiring way of living. It's not living in the presence, it's not living in now, here and now. But if you want to explore prepping, if you're a prepper and you want to explore this and you want to learn more about solar, I did that way back in 2016, and I got into the business. And I want to show you something here. If you go to my site, where am I here? Right here. Go to my channel. And on my channel, I refaced it a bit. But if you go to my homepage, I refaced that a bit. And if you go down to the bottom, you'll see I have a site here called Gone with the Grid. Well, this is a site I've had for a number of years now. I don't have a lot of subscribers on there. I haven't really pushed it. But on there, I have all these, a lot of technical stuff, and how to set up inverters, what's the best solar panel. The bifacials are the best, by the way. And is wind better than solar? No, it isn't. Don't waste your money on wind. But solar's your best, and you can get into solar quite cheaply. I was running electric heat with a couple panels in the snowstorm blizzard, and I did have to use outside power. You have to hook a generator up, but I have a whole couple of days there through a snowstorm, and I was playing with solar. So you can follow along. You can learn how to do solar. Now, coming up on our Gone with the Grid channel, my wife and I actually are selling our farm, and we're going right off grid. We're going to live it. And we're going to fill this channel with how to live a self-reliant lifestyle. We're just doing that for fun. We're not doing that because the end's coming. We're just doing that because we want to do that. And we have the knowledge to do that, and we can share it with others. So that's what we're going to do. Now, if you want to get into solar, go to this site. I've done so much research on solar. I spent literally thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. If you look at my website, I put trackers in, windmills in, all kinds of stuff to find out which was the best, because I wanted to figure out, should we be buying south offshore? I found out that's not good. The ship got stuck in the canal. All my stuff was on that ship. Couldn't get it. And then when I got all the stuff a year later, it didn't work as expected. It didn't work with the generator tie-ins and all this. And then try communicating in a language you don't speak. So I set up a dealership with these guys, Ames Power. They're out of the US. They're huge. And their prices is superb. They're better than anything you're going to get out of offshore. And this is right out of the US, and they have excellent tech. You can go in there and let's say you want to look at inverters. Well, you wouldn't want a modified. You'd want a pure sine wave inverter if you're running electronics. And so you go in there. Maybe you want to put a 48 volt system in. So you put a 48 volt system in. You're going to do a large cabin or something. Well, here you got a 4,000 watt, a 6,000 watt. Now their inverters are what we call split phase if you're electrical. So they have 120 on this side, 120 on that side. And that's what we need in North America. Now, if you're somewhere else, I recommend you buy from your own country so it fits your electrical systems. But here in North America, this would do the trick. This 4,000 watt, it's a split phase, and that'll pretty well run your cabin. $1,500, and it's priced right there. You can buy it through us, and then I get a little discount. And with that discount, I actually help you design your system. It doesn't cost you a cent. So you can price stuff out and look around. These guys, you click into here, they got a little video on it. Really good. They did a really good job in the US. They do a video on this for your electrician to look at, the overview, the features, the specs, the manuals there, everything's there. And that's another day, another topic, another discussion. But for all of you guys out there that are preppers and you want to figure out how to live off grid, well, that's what we're going to show you. And I'll be advertising that a little bit coming up. XJ Dub Unplugged, that's me. And our site is Gone with the Grid. And you can go there and check us out. But for today's talk, that ties in because lots of people are worried about the end coming and what do we do? How do we prepare? It doesn't hurt to prepare. It doesn't hurt to have extra water on hand, extra things. If the lights go out, something happens. We had it happen here this last summer when there was too much draw on the electrical system with all the air conditioners when it was 40 above out. And everything started, the power grid started shutting down. And that's what happens when we overuse our power grid. So what we tell people is put some solar on your house. And if everyone has an in-house air conditioner, you throw a 3,500 watt grid tie on and it zeroes out your air conditioning and doesn't draw on the grid and it doesn't crash your system if everyone did that. So these are just a few things. But with all these videos, you can go in and do your own research like I've done and not get too excited about end times. But, the end is coming. The end is coming for all of us. And there's going to come a day when we get too old and our end's here and we die. Our journey's done. So we all have an end. And we don't want to get too excited about the end coming any day now, like the Watchtower promotes. That's fear-mongering, and we don't want to do any of that. But I hope these videos will put your mind at rest regarding this asteroid that's coming. And I found it fascinating how it ties in with the Essenes. And I'm going to continue to do research on the Essenes because I find that fascinating that here's a group of people. We found these old Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's about these group of people, and there were other gods. That's what interests me. So perhaps we've been in the lie all these years. Yeah, perhaps. So this is yet to be seen. This is yet to be revealed to us. But what I have found through all of this is you can't go wrong in believing in Jesus. The Essenes prophesied Jesus coming and his death. And that all happened. And Jesus was closely affiliated with these people. Jesus' God was not the Jews' God. And he never, ever used Yahweh once. He always said, my Father, my Father, my Father. And when he was on the cross or the stake, whatever you want to call it, he was there dying. He hollered out, he said, my God. He could have said Yahweh, but he did not. He said, my God, Elohim, El. That's who Jesus was praying to. That was his God. The Jews' God was Jehovah. And I think as you watch these videos, you will find that there actually was two gods. So for me, I'm not praying to Jehovah. I'm not praying to Yahweh. I pray to God. And that's who I pray to. Hopefully I'm getting the right God. But anyways, this is it for today. That's my 2 bits. I hope you enjoyed the brief lesson here. But the rest of the research is up to you. So until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.